Well, hello and welcome to the radio room. I'm doing this video a little bit differently. I got a Heathkit SB 220 on the big bench today. It doesn't fit in my normal work area, so I've got it over here on the big bench, which doesn't have cameras set up on it. I've already started doing some work on this amplifier. It came in for, specifically, it needs a new band switch wafer in it, which, let me come around the bench here, and I'll show you where that's at. If I can get down in there and actually see this, it's right down in here. Right there. That wafer switch right there. It's got some blown out contacts on it, arced over, whatnot. You guys on Signal have probably already seen a couple of pictures of this. It was quite dirty when I got it, but well, living in this area, like I mentioned in the Signal post, the fan, which is mounted right here, is typically, it's got to bring a lot of air over the two tubes that sit down in these two sockets right here. So, I mean, we have dirt around here. It's just always dirt. It's always dry and it's always dusty. But I wanted to go over a couple of things when working on something like this. This is a tube amplifier. It does have extremely high plate voltages on it. Just to give you an example, let me see if I can find it. I thought it was labeled right here. Anyhow, this particular amplifier, when in its, right there. Right there. When it's in its high power configuration, it's got 3,000 volts to, maybe 3,500 volts on the plates. The plate connectors are up here. Now, each one of these are bleeder resistors. This is the capacitor bank. It has 8 capacitors in there, 8 450 volt capacitors, in order to do the filtering for the plate voltage. Now, typically when you turn this off, these bleeder resistors are supposed to drain those capacitors, but that doesn't always happen. There can be some residual voltage on it. So you got to be really careful when you go in these, and you want to make sure that those are discharged. Now, on this particular amplifier, it does have a safety, and it's right here. There's a cover plate that goes over the top of this amplifier, and there's just like a plastic tube that's mounted to the bottom side of this cover that pushes down on this. When that's engaged, it's in operational mode. If you happen to take the cover off, if you had power going to the amplifier and the amplifier was turned on, there would be anywhere between 2,500 and 3,000 volts on, lost my little pointer. Now, anyhow, right here. 3,000 volts going to right there. That feeds the plate voltage right up here. So when you take the cover off, if you have the power on, that would touch it. And in that case, as you can see, that's bolted straight to the chassis, which is at ground. So that would directly short out the plate voltage. Hopefully it'd blow the fuses first. There are circuit breakers on the back here for the power supply. This is the main plate voltage transformer right here that's making the 3,000 volts. That's stepping it up for the 3,000 volts. This would short that out, so hopefully the transformer would be fine and those breakers would go first. And I'll just show you that on the schematic diagram. Oh, everybody say hi to Fluffy Lammy, one of my daughter's stuffed lambs. Got to make sure they stay out here and keep an eye on me, make sure I'm doing okay. So here's the interlock right here. That's that piece. It just takes the plate voltage, and you can't really see where that's going right now. Let me just kind of kind of go up here, and you can see it goes over to that arrow, and that's coming off of, so here's those capacitors, 8 capacitors all right there, and you can see they're tied right into the plate voltage right after the rectifier boards, coming straight off of the main high voltage transformer. Go down here to the next page, and right there's the B+. That's the plate voltage. Goes straight over, goes through the parasitic filters, right into the plate of the two 3-500Z tubes. So that's a lot of voltage there. And as you can see, that is directly connected into all that's stored in this capacitor bank. If these bleeder resistors don't bleed that down, so when you want to work on an amplifier like this, turn it off, unplug it, wait a few minutes, let these guys do their job. If it, just to be sure that there's no voltage on this, first off, if you're working on something like this, especially if you have to do something live on it, keep one hand in your pocket and do your adjustments with the other hand. You don't want to be touching the chassis with one hand and adjust something with the other. If you happen to come in contact with that high voltage, it's going right through one hand, it's going right through your chest, and coming out the other hand. Well, that just happens to go right through your heart. So you want to make sure that you have the power dissipated off these capacitors, which should by the bleeder capacitors, but don't trust that. One thing you can do in this case, like I said, this one does have that safety on there, which also makes a nice convenient point for discharging those. As soon as you take the cover off, they should discharge right through there. Now, when I first took the cover off of this was extremely dirty. There was a lot of dust sitting on this plate, and it's normally sitting down here, so right in here there could be a lot of dust gathering and dirt. So when this came up to right here, I had no guarantee that that had actually made contact electrically. So what I did, and you got to be really careful with this, is I took my screwdriver. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this. Make sure you got one that you kind of trust. This is an older screwdriver. It could have cracks in this handle, which could make a path to me. But here's how I do it. I make sure I don't touch the part that could have the high voltage first. I make sure I'm up and I'm not touching any part of the radio, only the plastic part of the screwdriver. And I touch the ground side first. And what I did was, while making contact with the ground side of this spring brass, then I slid it in there and rubbed it back and forth right there. Made sure I got good contact between my screwdriver and that metal. That should drain it down. I wanted to make sure I pushed all the dirt out of the way, but I'm only touching the screwdriver handle and I'm touching nothing else. After I did that, like that a few times, I was confident there was no voltage still on the plates. So, that's about where we're at right now. I've already started cleaning this thing up. I've pulled the tubes out. It's making it a lot easier to clean in this area. Plus, I'm going to have to get in behind here. Going to have to take these plate coils out to get to that wafer switch down there. Especially since that's what they're switching. This is the part of the tank circuit for the tubes. This is kind of the amplifier portion of the actual amplifier. So I got to get these out of here anyhow. They have leads that are soldered to what I have to replace anyhow. So, alright, hopefully this wasn't too long of a video to just put straight to signal. I'll be back if there comes up with any other interesting points or tidbits that I want to put out there. Bye for now.